Good morning, my name is Alex and I'm an educator here at the Science Center. Today I'm going to be talking to you about poison versus venom and then show you a couple of our snakes that we haven't shown you yet. So to start off with our lesson about poison versus venom, do you guys know the difference between the two of those? So venom has to be injected into you, so whether it's by stinger or by fangs. An animal could bite you, or if you think about a bee has a stinger, it puts that into your body and it has to inject it into you. Whereas poison, you have to eat it or it has to brush up against your skin. So I usually like to think of poison ivy. It has poison in the name and it rubs up against your skin and causes irritation. Poison and venom can be put into different levels. Some you can die from, some you just get a little bit of a rash or sickness. So it varies on level of severity. So one of the really cool species that I want to talk to you guys about is the tiger keelback snake. And so I'll show you right here, just a picture of it. So this is a snake that is native to Japan. They are both poisonous and venomous. It is the only known poisonous snake. What they do is they go around Japan, they eat these poisonous frogs and they collect that poison in a nuchal gland that's right in their throat. And so when a predator comes and approaches them, they put their head up, reveal the gland, and then hopefully the predator knows, hey, this is a species of snake that I shouldn't mess with, and goes away. However, if that predator decides to attack, they do bite that nuchal gland and that poison sprays all over their mouth or their face and it really hurts them. So they know not to mess with that snake. They do have venom that they produce themselves. It is stored in their Duvernoy's gland, just at the back of their mouth, and they inject it with their fangs. What's really cool about this species is scientists have done studies, and it seems that this species knows when it has a toxin in its body versus not. So there is a small island in Japan where these snakes do not feed on these frogs. And so scientists have taken those snakes. They usually flee when a predator approaches rather than showing that gland. And so scientists have taken this snake, taken it back to their laboratory, fed them these venomous frogs, and then shown them a predator. And those snakes, when they usually fled, they actually showed their nuchal gland. Females actually go out of their way to hunt these venomous frogs during reproductive season. When it's not time to reproduce, they'll eat anything that they can get their mouths on. But when it's time to reproduce, they can actually pass this poison on to their babies so that their babies have an extra layer of protection in order to survive longer in the wild. So that's really cool that they can pass that on. But they will travel much further lengths to go for these poisonous frogs. So they are very aware of when that toxin's in their body versus not. And so there are some differences in how to tell a venomous snake versus a non-venomous. So a lot of venomous snakes will have very clear and obvious necks versus their heads. Their heads are a little bit wider. They also have a bit of a thicker body. Snakes that aren't very venomous or poisonous, they have smaller bodies, narrower heads, and their markings aren't quite so obvious. Sometimes you'll have diamonds or different markings on the heads of venomous, poisonous snakes. So we're going to go ahead and show you one of our snakes now. So this is Babbage. Thank you. So Babbage is a creamsicle corn snake or a red rat snake. Creamsicle refers to the coloration on his body, so you can see that he has this beautiful orange color. There are various morphs. There's lavender, there's diffused or blood red, there's also palmetto or white, and then of course this beautiful creamsicle color. We do have Lovelace. We're not going to get her out today. She's just acting a little bit hyper, so that I couldn't handle her. But she is a beautiful red color and she's different. So if you come into the center, you can compare Babbage's color to Lovelace's. And so these snakes are native to the U.S. and they are most abundant in our beautiful sunshine state of Florida. So they can be longer than ball pythons despite their bodies and their circumference being much smaller. These guys do lay eggs. They can lay between 10 and 30 eggs at a time, and they usually try to put their eggs usually in a dying tree trunk or a pile of decaying plant material or vegetation. And they do this because they don't really care for their eggs and wrap up around it or keep it warm like a bird would. They lay these eggs and they leave them be, and by finding something that's dead and decaying, they're able to ensure that the temperature is a little bit higher, that humidity is probably going to be a little bit higher, in order for these eggs to remain, I think it's between 76 and about 85 degrees is where they want to keep their eggs at. So they hatch about after 60 days of being laid, and they hatch about 10 to 15 inches in length. So these guys do vary in size. So Lovelace, our other snake, is 5 feet long. She's a female. And then Babbage himself is 4 feet. So they have about a 20-year lifespan. We're not exactly sure on the age of these guys. All of our animals that we get are donated to us. We rescue them on World Amnesty Day, or people that can't care for them anymore give them to us.
There's a comment. Hannah says he is so active, which definitely right now.
He is very active. Lovelace, the other corn snake that we have here, is even more active right now. Otherwise, I'd show you her. But they do love to slither. These guys are actually really fast as well. So you do have to be careful when you're handling them. And we typically don't place them on the floor or anything because they can slither off so fast. So we usually like to handle them like this. So Babbage is named after a mathematician and philosopher. He actually helped create a digitally programmable computer, and he did that with the help of Ada Lovelace, which is our other corn snake's namesake. So these guys get a frozen mouse about once a week, and what's really unique about snakes is it takes them about 2 to 4 days to digest their food, and they will pee and poop only one time during this period. And so their pee and poop comes out of the same hole. Let's see. You can't see it too well here, but just right here there's a small, you might see a special scale there. That's where it comes out of. And so this is an example of the poop. This is actually from one of our snakes here, Lucy, who I'll show you shortly. But this is the poop up here. That is a whole rat. So they can compress it and compact it really tight. And their bones are all crushed up and ground up, but most of this is a lot of fur. If you looked closely, and if you come to the center, we can show you an example of this if you did want to see it. And this white here, what do you think this white is? So this white is their urine. Their urine is compact. That's all that calcium buildup and everything. Sometimes you can get it out in one go, just like you see the poop and pee there together. Otherwise, they're often separated like that.
There's a question. Tobias asked, how fast can they slither? Do you? I wouldn't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly how fast they slither. I can look that up and I can get back to you on that. I'm not sure if there's been any studies exactly how fast they slither, but it's quite fast. I can let you know later when I find out. But that's a really good question. And so these guys do shed. They usually shed young when they're juveniles. They're growing, so their skin needs to grow more, and that means more shedding. So we have an example here. This is a shedding from our ball python. I think this one's really cool. You can kind of see the scales, but what's really unique about snakes is they actually have scales over their eyes called spectacles, and they shed those as well. So let's see if you can see that a little bit. You can see the scale over their eye shed there as well. So I think that's really interesting. So do you see any eyelids on these guys? No. So they actually sleep with their eyes open. They're able to shut off part of their brain. They don't have to worry about blinking or keeping those eyes wet because they do have those scales to protect it from if any dust or dirt gets in there. What is he doing with his tongue? Do you guys know? So he is using that tongue to sniff. So he is smelling all of his surroundings, and so he's smelling me a lot. They can't see too well, so they do heavily rely on that. So they actually have an organ inside their mouth called a Jacobson's organ. and it is the same shape as their tongue. And so when they put their tongue back in their mouths, they actually insert it into that organ at the top of their mouth, and that organ deciphers all of those smells and scents all around them, and tells them what's going on. So it's pretty interesting. So these guys, their conservation status is least concerned, so we don't have to worry about protecting them too much. But of course, if you see them out in the wild, you do want to leave them be. We don't want to hurt any animals. Just make sure that they're not really going to harm us, so we don't want to harm them. These guys do have the ability to bite. Any animal that has a mouth has the ability to bite. None of our animals here have ever bit us. And in relation to our lesson about venom versus poison, he is neither venomous or poisonous. He can bite, it can hurt, but he's not going to inject anything into us. And we don't have any venomous or poisonous snakes here at the center. So if you ever come by and want to see one of these guys or pet their backs, you don't have to worry about them being a threat to you. So some of you might be wondering why they're called corn snakes. So there's a couple different stories. Some of them say that it's because their scales, especially on their bellies, look like maize. And there's different coloration, like their scales could be scattered all around. He's got a really beautiful pattern on him, but sometimes they say it looks like maize or Indian corn. It's also been said that way back when farmers would store their corn in sheds or corn cribs, the rats and mice would gather there, and that is a great area to gather food for a snake. So you would often find these guys in those sheds hunting those mice and those rats. And so the farmers wouldn't hurt them or kill them because they were helping maintain that corn. They don't want their stock destroyed by the rats and mice, so these snakes would help them out. And so I am going to go ahead and put him back, and I'm going to get Lucy out for you guys. I'll be right back. And so this is Lucy. Lucy is a red-tailed boa constrictor. And so she's a little bit active today. You might see her wriggle around a lot. But she's got this beautiful pattern on her. A lot of them have these diamonds or triangles on their back. Let's see. And this black that you might be able to see on camera here is actually part of her scales. That's her coloration there as well. That's not dirt from her enclosure or anything like that. So as you can see, she's also using her tongue to smell around and get to know the area. She actually has much better eyesight than Babbage does. These guys usually like to climb in trees. They are native to North America and South America. They can live in a variety of conditions. They live in tropical rainforest to semi-desert conditions. They can swim really, really well. However, they usually like to stick to land. You'll often find them inside of hollowed out trees or in old mammal homes. Typically the mammals have left their burrows and they no longer live there. So in relation to Babbage, Babbage would slither around by snaking his body away like curves. And as you can see, Lucy here actually likes to slither typically in a straight line due to their larger size. So what causes them to slither? Like what allows them to push themselves? Do they have bones and muscles at all? Do you guys know? So snakes do have bones. They have between 200 and 400 vertebrae and just as many ribs. And so I have an example here. And so where do you guys think the tail ends and the body begins? Is all of this tail up into her head? Or is it halfway down her body? So it's typically the last couple of inches of her body. I usually like to think it's about right where her vent is at. And so this is right around where her tail begins here, if you can see that. And so Lucy is named after one of the oldest fossil collections of human ancestry. So she's about 3.2 million years old, and there's over 3,000 bones, I believe, that we have found. So let's see.
Someone asked if Lucy is a boy or girl.
Lucy is a girl, and so girls are typically larger than boys. They can be between 20 and 30 years old in captivity, sometimes a little bit less than that out in the wild, just because they're prone to predators and being attacked or eaten. But these guys can be between 6 and 12 feet long. Lucy is actually on the small end. She is about 6 feet in length. The largest known boa is about 13 feet in length and weighs over 100 pounds. They can weigh over 100 pounds in the wild, but typically in captivity they weigh somewhere between 60 and 80 pounds. So they will feed on anything that they can catch in the wild, whether it's birds, monkeys, wild pigs, large mice or rats. Like I said, anything that they can get their mouths on. Here we feed them live rats every 2 weeks. So she just recently got fed, and they, just like Babbage, she's gonna poop about 2 to 4 days after eating. And you can see what she's doing. Do you guys know what they do with those live rats? How they eat them? Do they sink their teeth into them to kill them? No, so they actually constrict them. So you can see what she's doing to my arm. She's wrapping herself around, and then she's putting all those muscles and squeezing them so that she can eat them. So do you think she's trying to eat me or hurt me when she does this? No, so she's actually just holding on to me like she would for a tree limb. She knows that I'm much too big to eat or consume, and we take care of them here so they know that they don't want to bite the hand that feeds them. We take very good care. She knows that I would never hurt her. She's not going to hurt me. But as you can see, she's clawing around quite a bit.
We have another question.
Yeah.
Two actually now. Do snakes like Lucy lay one egg at a time or a lot of eggs?
They lay a lot of eggs. They can actually they don't lay eggs. These guys are live bears, so they can lay up to 60 live babies at a time. So there's quite a bit of babies there, and those babies can be about 2 feet in length when they're born.
The other question is, how old is she?
Again, we're not too sure on their ages. They're donated to us, or we rescue them on World Amnesty Day. So I'm not sure if we know an actual age on them. But no matter what, she's in good, healthy condition. And that's all that really matters. And we're going to take care of them until the very end.
She is all over the place.
She is very active.
Someone asked about the rats. They swallow them whole, right?
Yes, they do. And they, like I said, this is her poop here. And think about a live rat. It's about that big. She compacts it down into this. And this is actually her poop. So we've put that in some, I think it's acrylic, just to show it off. And so it's really interesting. But yeah, they swallow them whole. They won't chew them up. And so one of the really cool things about boa constrictors is they have vestigial organs. So vestigial means that these are mainly pointless or useless organs that they currently have due to evolution. Way back, snakes actually had legs that helped them slither along. They were just tiny little legs that would push them. But let me see. You can actually see proof of where these are. One moment. Sorry, Lucy's all over the place. And so she's got these things called spurs. And so you can kind of see right here, right next to where she would pee and poop out of. I have pictures as well. Hi, Lucy. But these are remnants of their legs. So. This is their vent or their cloaca right here. And then you can see these little spurs on either side, and that's remnants of their legs. They don't use them anymore at all. But they are proof of evolution history. I think that's really interesting. Alrighty. And so these guys are not endangered at all. We don't have to worry about them disappearing anytime soon. However, they are protected in certain regions where they are heavily hunted due to their skin or their desire in the pet industry. So you can own these snakes as pets. However, they are a lot of work and you should always take care of them. And they live, like I said, between 20 and 30 years, so they're a pretty big commitment. And I believe that's about it. These guys are nocturnal, although you can see them during the day if they're basking in the sunlight for heat. Just like the corn snakes as well, they typically like to come out at night. Hunting is better and the prey can't see them quite as well, but they are cold-blooded, so they rely heavily on the sun or basking areas in order to keep warm. So if it's really, really cold at night, they'll come out during the day in order to get that heat into their body. Alrighty. And so that is all I have for you guys today. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to put that on this video. Tomorrow we have a really cool video for homemade ice cream and the science behind all of that. So if there's any materials you're going to need to gather, you're going to need a large Ziploc bag, a small Ziploc bag, sugar, vanilla, salt, about 4 cups of ice per serving, and milk or heavy cream. The more fat, the better. So let's see. And so I'm glad that you guys joined us today. We are still closed, unfortunately. However, if you would like to donate or come up with any ideas, please feel free on our post. But hopefully we'll see you guys soon, and thanks for tuning in. Have a great day.